Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome down to the third Recipe to Success podcast. My name is Daniel Lees, and I'm the Head of Business Development for KOJ Interiors. We focus on the construction industry here in the UAE, and we started a podcast probably 3 weeks back now, third episode. And what we wanted to do was inspire people that are looking to make career moves, career choices. You know, if you're entering the last part of your kind of education and wondering what to do and kind of not having much of an idea, we want to talk about people's history through business, starting way back from when they were children all the way through to today. So today we're joined by Brian Kleiver. He is the General Manager of Skidmore, Owings Merrill in the Middle East, which are an architecture firm, most well known for their iconic project with the Burj Khalifa. Okay, so hi Brian.
Good afternoon.
How's it going?
Good.
Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join our podcast.
Thank you.
I've been fortunate enough to know Brian for the last couple of years. My previous company, we worked on his office, and that's how we first connected. But if you could just give us a brief introduction to yourself.
Absolutely. I've been in the Middle East now for going on 7 years, I guess I would say. Moved here from New York. Was working with SOM at the time. Going on 15 years with SOM. We've started in Bahrain when we moved over for a specific project, and then here to our office in the UAE.
Yep.
And it's been good.
So I gave a brief kind of introduction to SOM, but if you just want to give us a more detailed idea of kind of what you guys specialize in, what you do.
Absolutely. If it's big, we do it. Is an easy way of thinking of us. But I think more importantly and at a deeper level, I would say we specialize in providing projects that have longevity and are timeless and are well coordinated, high levels of collaboration, and the best possible building that a client could have, whether it be a tower, which we're known for. I think we have 7 of the tallest towers in the world.
Wow.
are by SOM.
You designed all of them?
Yes.
Wow.
And many of them multiple disciplines, not only architecture, but we're also most all of those. We also did the structural design, and we also do a lot of the MEP as well. So towers are definitely our calling card. And then otherwise we do a lot of urban planning, master planning, and as I said, large projects. We do healthcare, normally quite large healthcare projects all around the world. Offices, hospitality, retail. We kind of do it all, but normally when it's on a much larger scale, mixed use, high levels of collaboration required.
So you would say that you are the specialist in structures and structural buildings, and that's your core business. Do you go much into the inside of a building, or is it mainly the structure?
No, absolutely. Yeah, we also do. Yeah, no. I mean, architecture. That's who we're first and foremost known as. But we believe, and it's since our inception more than 80 years ago, that architecture is extremely closely related to the structure, and they go back and forth. And we also, yes, we do interior design. So we do a number of the projects that we work on. We're fortunate enough to also do a good bit of the interior design. But we also go after standalone, let's say, existing buildings, renovation of an interior design or a new interior design. We also do a lot of collaboration and research into new technologies and sustainability.
Yeah.
That's becoming a more critical part of our business, given the impact that buildings have on climate change.
Yeah, and so that we've talked about obviously Skidmore, Owings Merrill. So if we rewind right to the beginning of Brian's life, you said you came from New York. Is that your home, or are you from somewhere else in the US?
No, I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
It was kind of in the middle of the US. Quite a rural upbringing, let's say.
Yeah. And how was life at school? What were kind of your interests, and what kind of got you ticking when you were a child?
Art,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, I really had an interest in art. Liked to draw, paint, doodle, design houses.
Yeah.
Nothing in the magnitude of what myself and SOM are involved in now, but
it's like a kind of side.
I mean, that was really my interest. I wasn't, let's say I wasn't terribly motivated by the other disciplines in school.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's very difficult, right? It's at school. From my side, I learned so much. I would probably say after I left school about so many different things that they don't kind of teach you about everyday life. But when you kind of went into the last part of your schooling years, and college was around the corner, and university was on a horizon, was it always architecture that you kind of wanted to do?
No, it was. Well, I had quite an interest in cooking, and I considered going down the path of becoming a chef.
You made a great choice by not doing that.
Ironically, it seemed like a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And perhaps not much pay. I don't know if I made the right decision or not.
You definitely
Architecture
did.
is a lot of hard work.
I can talk from experience. You made the right choice.
I recall you saying that, yeah. And then I guess with liking art, that seemed like the old phrase "starving artist."
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a starving artist, and architecture seemed to be a more pragmatic approach to art and design. So that was what I decided to get into.
Yeah. And you studied, whereabouts did you study?
I studied at the community college near me in Michigan.
Yeah.
I finished there, and then I transferred to University of Detroit Mercy, a fine Jesuit school.
Yeah. And how far was that from Michigan?
Oh, that was in Michigan. No,
Okay.
I really resided in Michigan until the age of 28.
Oh wow. Not much traveling then. Not compared to now.
No, not much. No, not much traveling. And then we decided we needed to pull up our roots and move.
Yeah. And how was architecture? Obviously, you go where there's construction. At the time in Michigan, was there a lot of construction when you were studying to be an architect? Is that what spurred you to go for that, or was there not much at all?
No, to be honest, I don't really recall so much. I mean, I would have to say historically, Michigan, it's got one big city, Detroit, which I'm sure everybody knows a little bit about Detroit. It's struggled a lot over the years. So I don't think that there was probably a booming construction industry, or that really. It was more, I would say, about. I like to think of myself as a very creative person. I guess, which also goes with cooking.
Yeah.
and that seemed like an avenue to put that focus into.
Yeah. And if we go back to the cooking element, what's your favorite dish to cook? Do you
That's
have
a
any?
good question.
Do you prefer the kind of main dishes, or is it more the desserts that you like to cook?
I like a lot of everything. Chicken piccata
Yeah.
pops into my head. It's hearty. It's not too complex. Very savory. A lot of different flavors.
Yeah. And what would you say your most favorite cuisine is? What do you like to eat most?
I would say I like everything, but I would have to say Italian would probably be a go-to.
Yeah.
I find you really can't go wrong with Italian.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, so enough about the hobbies. So you studied in Michigan, and then you mentioned that you stayed there until the age of 28. And then what happened at 28 for you to kind of up sticks and leave?
I finished my education, a Bachelor of Architecture, and I guess that was really the impetus for getting out of there. I mean, besides family, I don't really have a draw towards where I grew up. It's just not my speed. I'm a very urban person.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very rural area, and so we decided that we wanted to live somewhere more urban, and we did we did a fair bit of research, and we ended up moving to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Because we wanted to be somewhere that had a good public transportation system, was a vibrant city, close to an ocean, not too far from mountains, because we like to be active, and so.
Nice. And that's how you managed to keep looking so young, right? Every time I see you, it's like you look younger and younger and younger.
Maybe.
What's the secret? Come on, tell everyone what's the secret.
I think it's sense of humor.
Yeah?
I think it's sense of humor.
Yeah, and also happy wife, happy life, right?
Oh, there's that too. Absolutely. Although I still say she's the reason for a lot of these gray hairs.
Yeah. It wasn't. You didn't inherit that from the family, no. It's.
Oh, maybe a little bit.
And how was Washington then? What was it? I mean, what was your what sort of? You worked in architecture in Washington.
I got a job with RTKL, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Washington was good. It was a good, I would say, a good transition moving from a small city like Detroit. Vibrant, lots to do. It's a lot of good people from all over the U.S. and a lot from around the world. Quite an international city. Yeah. So it was I'd say really a real growing experience as a person.
Yeah. And how long did you stay in Washington for?
We were there for 5 years.
Okay.
And then my wife started watching Sex and the City. And
don't tell me that's what spurred the move. Really?
That planted the seed. Yeah,
okay.
That planted the seed. And
did she want to be the fifth member of?
Well, she did incidentally buy a very expensive pair of shoes when we did move there.
Coincidentally.
Yeah, coincidentally or not. No, I think we decided that. It's as far as cities go, urban spaces go, and we both liked to travel. I was very interested in other cultures and just everything that goes along with a big urban place.
And the next stop was New York, right?
Yeah, New York. Yeah, I got a job with SOM.
Yeah.
We shifted there, and it was fantastic. We bought an apartment. Nice. 45 square meter. And Yeah, it was. We met a lot of great people.
Yeah. And how long did you stay in New York for then?
We were in New York for almost 8 years.
Wow.
And then I started working on, I guess not too long, maybe a year or two after I started working at SOM, I began working on a project in Bahrain, the Four Seasons Hotel, and became very engaged in that, one of the lead architects on it. And we had a contract for site supervision, partial site supervision services, and we needed somebody on the ground to do that, and so I threw my name into the hat. And
try new things, new scenes.
Yeah, we were very keen to move abroad for the experience.
Yeah.
We'd been watching House Hunters International.
Yeah.
This is TV show.
Do they do a Bahrain special? Is that
No, it had nothing to do with Bahrain really,
Yeah.
but more about, how does someone pick up their life, put it in boxes and move across the ocean to a completely new culture and country. And
did you visit Bahrain before you left New York?
yes, I had been a number of times for work, so it certainly wasn't, let's say, an uneducated move. And actually, my wife also had been as well. We did a little holiday there that we clubbed with a business trip one time. So
nice. And it's a completely different concept, isn't it? You move cities, that's not a problem. But I think when you leave a country for another country, you kind of it's a whole different ball game. I mean, what was the kind of, UAE is one of the places where people come on holiday and then they want to come to work, but you've got, I'd probably say 90% don't do it because of the fear of moving to a different country. How did you, you'd been to Bahrain, so it wasn't a problem in terms of where you were going, but what were the sort of emotions that you were feeling? Did you feel like there was an issue moving? Did you feel nervous? Did you was there anxiousness, or were you pretty calm about the situation?
There was probably a little, but I would say I'm a person who embraces change.
Yeah.
I think, I can't say that 100%. Of course, I would be lying if I said that in certain situations I didn't have some angst or. But I think change helps you grow as a person.
Yeah.
And I that's probably, I'd say, the biggest reason why people, as you said, don't move or don't change jobs, or because you get comfortable in what you know, and it's easy, and when you change, you don't know what other impacts there might be, and what you might encounter, but I think it's really made me
the person that you are today,
the person that I am, which is far different than where I was 30 years ago.
Yeah. Would you say you're a complete? You kind of look back at the 28-year-old you that left Michigan, and you think who was that person? Because so much has happened and so much has changed, and you've learned so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. And
how was the kind of operational setup in Bahrain? When you got there, were you kind of like a one-man band and you just needed to be there to oversee the project, or did SOM already have an office developed there, or was that something that you had to build along with your journey?
It was mostly the prior. It was a partial supervision role. There was a local architect engineer engaged in the project as well, so they had full supervision services, and the client, because they were very engaged and concerned about level of quality of the final product. They were very adamant about having SOM engaged in some capacity, and so I was the only SOM person, and I engaged with the local having my own review of all submittals and materials, and a lot of time on site, reviewing mock-ups and installations, and to make sure that they were of an acceptable quality.
Yeah, and when working on that first ever project, like you say, it's a completely different ball game when you leave your home country to go and work in a different country, but also as well the differences in culture, and obviously the building as well. So the whole building element is slightly different here. I think the beauty of this region is that it moves so quickly, whereas by the time you'd obviously graduated from uni, went into architecture, the States, Europe and places like this were already quite established, so the construction wasn't as vast, and there wasn't so much of the work here. But how did you find the kind of building quality and standard of kind of contractors that were actually building your designs moving to Bahrain?
Very poor, comparatively.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that's and you know this very well. The labor that is engaged, is more or less unskilled.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real challenge, and to try to push that level of quality up. But I mean, to the simplest things. I mean, I still remember, when the contractor started installing cement block walls, and they were exposed in the back of house areas with a painted finish. And when I went out to have a look at how it was getting on, they were using copper plumbing pipe to tool the joints, the mortar joints of the block wall.
Copper.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, they manufacture
specific
tools to do that, but they had never done that before. They knew how to put block up, but normally in this part of the world, block gets put up and then it gets clad over with another material, another finish. So it's hidden. So that's a good example of. Yeah. So there was a good few weeks of
really having to
get the tool, and then let's do a mock-up, and that's a good first try, and the end product ended up at a good level
after you managed every single labor on site.
But if I hadn't have been there,
to
be fair, the local architect engineer, they often don't have that same level of exposure and experience to the levels of quality that are from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So that's really what, that's one of the key things that I'm doing here for SOM is trying to see our projects through to, the highest possible level.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, from being in the industry, a tiny fraction compared to what you've been in. What I've learned is that a lot of architects are quite impatient because it's a long process, right? You start designing a building and it takes a long time for it to actually come to construction phase and then the completed project. So you find a lot of architects kind of switch into interior design as well.
Agreed.
Do you agree with that?
No, it resonated.
Yeah,
because it's they come to market in a shorter burn. The magnitude of the project maybe isn't as big, and it's there's a reason why, there's many reasons why we're doing this. But one of them, the gratification is being able to, I worked on that building. I designed that. That was, blood, sweat, and tears in that.
Sleepless nights.
Yeah, and you can see it finished. Whereas, as architects, and in particular in this world, there are a lot of grand ambitions that never come to fruition. And when you stop and think about it, and you've put all that time into it, you've been paid for your time. But still, it's really there's bigger reason why.
Yeah, I think as well it's a very important kind of statement you made there, because it also shows your kind of love towards the job, because what you find is a lot of people will come into a certain industry for the money, right? But we did a blog recently where we talked about doing what you love, because when you move to the Middle East, I'm sure you'll agree with me here, everyone thinks that it's such a nice life, good salaries, this, that, the other, we're in an amazing place. Don't get me wrong, we are an amazing place, but at the same time, I think you work twice as hard than what you would do back in, say for instance, your home country, because you don't have the family on the doorstep, the friends that you grew up with and so on. Would you find that, you agree with that statement? I suppose as a general manager, you don't work as hard now, right? You just delegate.
Yeah, I don't know if I do. I mean, I'm sure it's all personal experience or company, but I mean, New York, there's a reason why it's associated with the rat race.
Yeah.
That term.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Full on.
And no, I mean, I would have to say some of the hardest I've worked
was in
New York with SOM.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I would say our culture has changed now. I mean, I'm not such a young guy anymore, even though you say look at.
I think I've got more wrinkles than you.
I think the younger generations are. I'm not sure how they're doing it, but they're bringing a more relaxed approach to the work environment. So I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
There are, to be fair, there are hard parts, and I mean, for me, it's things are just done differently here. As an example, you need to get an approval on something. It's it may be 2 steps back in the U.S., but for whatever reason, it requires
10 steps,
5 steps,
yeah.
And you didn't put a stamp on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
You don't have to stamp things so much back in the U.S. It's things like that I think, take a longer time, and they're more painful and.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing it's almost quite amusing in a sense, because it's so advanced here, but yet there's some elements that really are. When I first moved here, I couldn't believe they took checks. I don't think even back in the UK, I don't think I owned a checkbook. I think it had gone out of fashion by the time I'd actually started banking, and the whole rental system here. But I appreciate what you're saying there.
I didn't realize they did checks here. It's funny.
No?
I've never. I guess now that you say that, when I opened my account, I do remember them saying that. But I was trying to get off of that.
The reason why I always remember the check system is because I never really had, because my first part of the career, as I mentioned earlier, was obviously I was a chef for a long time. So me writing was unheard of unless it was in a cookbook. So signatures and stuff didn't really come around until I was about 23. So apart from if you signed your passport and so on. So I never really had a solid signature. And then it comes to signing checks in the UAE. And because I didn't have an accurate one, they kept coming back saying, Mr. Lees, your signature doesn't match. And it was just like a slight difference. And I would just think to myself, please, one day be gone of the checks, so I can just move on with normal life. Maybe a direct debit would work better, but no. Anyway, slightly digressing. Anyway, but so how was the feeling then when the project in Bahrain came around and you saw it and you saw the final product?
It was fantastic. I was there. I saw it. I was there for 2 years, so I saw it from the time the structure was 12 floors out of the ground until I was at the opening, the grand opening. I mean, incredibly gratifying. I think that's something that, in talking about architecture as a career, especially in this part of the world, we sort of touched on it already, is a real challenge.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have, I think most people need something more than just a paycheck. You know, it's
Yeah.
there needs to be a motivation, and when things don't get built, what's your motivation? You spend a lot of time and effort. So it was, it's probably, I would say that's, for me, that project was a real highlight of my career. Because it's not many architects, even 10 years ago or 15 years ago, that start on a project near the beginning and are involved all the way through to the grand opening. So.
And after that project was completed, how long did you end up staying in Bahrain for?
We moved immediately. We a couple of months, sort of getting things in order, and then we had an office here in Abu Dhabi, and my wife and I, we decided. When we moved, it was just a 2-year contract. That let's do it. Let's see what it's. And so we didn't necessarily plan on staying, but I think in the back of our, or at least in the back of my mind, I thought that it very well could happen if we. So it was a good try in Bahrain, and we decided that we both liked it. You said happy wife, happy life. She finally engaged in a career that wowed her, and so we talked to SOM about shifting to the office here and engaging here, and that's what we did.
And what projects were you working on when you moved to the UAE?
Well, we had a hospital project that unfortunately didn't materialize. I didn't actually work too much on that, but that was kind of a big project for us at the time. A lot of little things here and there. Again, there were a number of things that was kind of wrapping up some loose ends on the Four Seasons in Bahrain. And then a lot of small things, a lot of business development. It was kind of a strange period, and actually, I guess I used the sort of, it wasn't free time, let's say, but comparatively to, I would say, a normal workday, it was quite a bit lighter. I was working on my registration as a licensed architect, so that kind of filled any voids.
Yeah, and then from the Abu Dhabi office, you then moved to Dubai, which we are sitting here today, placed on Sheikh Zayed Road. Nice, convenient view of the main highlight of downtown. So the Dubai office. So you obviously started up the office here. You moved from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. And then what was the kind of next steps towards, what was the vision, what was the goal from moving here?
Yeah, well, really it was, while we did have an office in Abu Dhabi, I would say by SOM standards, it wasn't let's say a fully functional office. It was an office that was very geared toward a specific project, which was that hospital that I spoke of. And so when that project disappeared and wrapped up, the partnership decided that we had set up a pretty good legacy in the UAE, in the Middle East, and that a way to kind of anchor that and move it forward stronger in the future would be to open a proper office. And so the partnership had to think about it and decided that Dubai was probably the better location in terms of a little more on the map, and kind of a heart of the industry as far as architecture goes in the region. And so we opened up this office to that end, and
Would you say it's helped with bringing in new business and more business for the company?
It's had its advantages, I would say. Yeah, I mean it serves very much as a stage, let's say. We can very proudly entertain clients. We're not a fully, I would say, comparatively to our other SOM offices, a fully operational office here, because we don't have all disciplines and we're small. But we have a small urban planning studio, which we can more or less, depending on the size of the project, be fully functional on. So I'd say from that perspective, that's good, because we didn't have that before. That's a positive. I would say having the space to present the right facade or the right approach to potential clients is a win.
Good convenient location as well, because you oversee probably one of SOM's most iconic projects, which is the Burj Khalifa.
Indeed.
I mean, I know it's obviously a large project that many people probably had their hand on at SOM, but what was it like to work for a company that just won, the design for the largest building in the world at the moment as it stands? What was the vibe when that kind of landed?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I was with SOM when that landed. I was just a couple years. It was a couple years shy of me starting there.
Yeah.
And our Chicago office took the bulk of that design. Quite honestly, I really wasn't that familiar with this part of the world.
Yeah. I don't think anyone was at the time.
When I had first started working at SOM. It's hard for me to say how it resonated. I mean, I can speak more to, I guess, how it resonates now is that the world over, most everyone knows the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. And when you can say that the firm that I work for was responsible for the design of that, it means a lot.
And the construction of that completed in 2010, if that's correct.
I believe that's correct. Yeah, that sounds about right.
When was it that the SOM actually started? Do you know when it was that they started working on it? Because you mentioned obviously sometimes it's like 8 years, 10 years in design concept stage.
I think it was early 2000, if I recall.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just a kid then. I think I just finished school.
Thanks.
Halfway through your career, sorry about that, Brian. But yeah, I mean, did you find that obviously it eases the kind of, let's say, the sell when you're working with clients and you say, I've got this in my portfolio, or would you say you also do you reckon off the back of that you get more recognition as an organisation? Because also what comes with being the most iconic kind of building in the world is that people just see it as an iconic building. They don't actually know sometimes who's involved in it, unless you're a construction professional. But would you say that it kind of, people know who you are when you say, oh, we're from SOM, or is it more you kind of have to break it in with, we did the Burj Khalifa, we did?
Yeah, I would say the majority of, let's say, the average person that you encounter most anywhere in the world. I would say it's still very industry oriented. If they're in construction or architecture or consultant work, they know. But many people, they know the building, but I don't think so many. I don't think the average person pays so much attention to
Yeah.
who the architect is.
Unless you're,
unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Unless you're like somebody that's studied architecture and like, oh, wow, that's an amazing structure. But I mean, it's mind-boggling when you kind of see it. But what do you think of the Dubai construction industry now? Obviously, we're in 2019. We've got the Expo around the corner. What do you see? How do you see the market?
It's okay. I'm obviously, from my perspective with SOM, it is perhaps a different perspective than other firms. I say that because we're fortunate in our industry, and when people who are not in the industry, they're looking to do a building, they do some research, and when you do some research, I think you quickly find out that SOM is a firm that you're interested in considering. So that keeps a lot of opportunities coming in the door.
Yeah.
But I'd say in the UAE, my take is that things have become more sustainable. I know a lot of people are there's quite a bit of chatter about slowdown, and I know that's a taboo word here. Honestly, I think it's more. I like to think of it as it's become more sustainable, because people who have been here for any number of time, or even if they haven't been here, kind of outside looking in, there was quite a period of time where things were coming up left, right, and center, and I think that people came to think of that as kind of the norm for Dubai, and elsewhere in the world that's not the norm. How often do you go into a major city and see so many cranes? Exactly. So I think things have slowed, but I think it's relevant to how exponentially fast they were moving through a period of 15, 20 years, and I think it's more sustainable. I mean, it's not really possible that pace of development could continue for a greater duration. 100%. I think I don't think there's enough money in the world to keep building at that rate, and B, like you say, it was very much the concept of build and they will come, and building for the future. Some of the leaders, they talk about building for the future, but like you say, I would say it's just becoming more of a mature place to be, and like you say, it's not, you can't keep throwing as many buildings up as they were doing before, and you've got your iconic buildings that are here now and that are being constructed, but like you say, it's just kind of, it got to take to the point where you go, right, there's a bit of a slowdown now, because we're doing well, and I think when you see more of the suburbs now, you're becoming more of a city, because you're having areas develop, like the residential areas, like the motor cities, the Arabian ranches, obviously that's Dubai
huge.
Hills.
Dubai Hills, that's that's going to be a huge development, and you've got Maidan as well, more malls coming. You wonder how much money people have got to spend in these shops with all the malls coming, but it's just like you say, it's becoming more structured, let's say, it's becoming more, there's areas where you can go and live rather than these huge buildings. It's more planning for, let's say, the kind of residential industry. So, but in terms of the Expo then, what do you think of the Expo? What's your opinion?
I think it's going to be a great event, and I think it'll be everything that Dubai and the UAE originally thought it was going to be. It'll have a tremendous level of exposure to the rest of the world. It seems like, unfortunately, SOM is not involved in anything there, but there's a lot of great architects involved. There's it seems a lot of great architecture coming up. I think it'll be a great event, and I mean, Yeah, I think it's debatable about how much it will change Dubai. I think it'll have an impact, but I'm not convinced if it will be as big as maybe it was originally thought.
Yeah. I think as well. I think we go to a lot of hotel conferences, and we hear about the hospitality industry. Sorry, and the topic always is what happens after Expo. But then, it's a common subject. But to be honest, Expo wasn't so popular prior to it coming to Dubai, and I think if you talk to a lot of people that come to Dubai, i.e. tourists, they don't really come because they think, the Expo is going to be here at 2020. They come because it's Dubai, right? So I think, how do you see the construction? Do you think they'll still? Because obviously you'll be planning. I'm guessing as you said, you get involved in projects early on. So maybe you're currently designing some projects that are in the future. Would you see there's still a lot of interest in building after 2020?
I think so. Yeah. Again, I think Dubai will continue to grow. I think the decisions or in the direction need to be more focused and well thought out, and sort of. If I had any say in the matter, I think infill is the more sustainable and smart way to go. There's still significant amounts of open lots, even around downtown. Don't expand out and reclaim more land. It's it's just a greater expense to go to that,
to provide all the infrastructure,
to work with what you've got.
I think the benefit as well is getting to the point where some of these buildings now on Shakeside Road, they've been here for 25 years, something like that.
True.
And there are talks of some towers being demolished and rebuilt, and like you say, the building technology nowadays is advanced. It advances year by year, so you can imagine, the differences that you can make if you refurbish kind of structures and you, like say, demolish or improve on what's already there. There's still tons and tons of business. I think personally, my opinion as well is there's always going to be a boom here. I think this is the most popular place in the world to come. It's it's got the highest traffic in all airports across the world, and people will always come here because there's one thing you can guarantee: sunshine. And
true,
people like to travel for sunshine. So I don't think there'll be a slowdown after Expo. I think the business will keep going and the construction will keep. It may slow down slightly, but I think they'll still develop for the future. But if you were to give a fresh architect out of university, do you employ youngsters now?
We do.
Yeah?
We do. Yeah, we actually, we have, well, I suppose it depends what you consider.
Do you have any
youngster? But we have,
below 30?
We have two people below 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we have one at 30 just a few days ago, so technically 3.
Yeah.
And one that's just a few years above 30. So respectively, we're quite a young office.
Yeah. And how would you say it is working with? Because obviously, when you was at university, I'm guessing, there wasn't as much technology as there is today. So there's been a huge learning curve, I suppose, throughout your whole career with all the technology that's come out. But how do you find, the learning that you learned when you were studying through to working with and overseeing these architects that are relatively at a young age and going into their career? How would you find the differences? Do you see much differences or?
Yeah, for sure. Sure. It's definitely technology.
Yeah.
The ability to design a building 3-dimensionally.
Yeah.
With BIM modeling, and I mean I think that's probably the biggest one. Maybe you could also say the ability to do more advanced renderings, and you could go so far as to say that the technology of the reality. Put the goggles on.
Yeah, and it shows you around. You look around.
Yeah,
and you see the architecture.
yeah. So I mean, a lot of that definitely is that didn't exist when.
Yeah.
I mean,
When
I talk about pulling out a roll of trace paper.
Yeah. Sketching.
Those three people look at me like I have three heads. Often.
Did you study with the dinosaurs by any chance?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's to be fair though, I think things have become much more computer centric.
It makes your life a little bit easier, I suppose.
For me, I'm not convinced of that, but I'm computer literate, but
so you still prefer the old school way of sketching? You still do a lot of sketches?
Yeah, no, I think that's. I think there's a time and a place for the computer, and I think there's still a time and a place for sketching. It's that creative aspect of it that just drawing lines in a computer. They're not crooked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so. I mean, yeah, I know that's probably slowly going away, but
it's still, like you say, it gives it that authenticity.
Yeah.
So that natural human touch. And when you're bidding on projects, do you include your sketches? You do like rough sketches of brief? I mean,
we do.
In terms of your kind of bid system, do you get as involved as doing a little bit of design work up front to win the project, or is it mainly like, this is how good we are? We've got the Burj Khalifa, we've got the Four Seasons in Bahrain.
It's still extremely competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, we get an occasional direct appointment.
Yeah.
Usually tends to be with a repeat client.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. But more often than not, it's a competitive process based on not always the design. A lot of, depending on what the project is, a lot of them are, you have to submit your technical and your fee proposal and a portfolio. But others are, in this part of the world, it seems competition formats are quite common.
Yeah.
And then you would have to put forward a component of design as part of the competition deliverables.
Yeah. So if we say, for instance, we have some investors or some developers listening into this when we launch it on our social media pages, why should they choose SOM? Apart from the fact they've obviously got Brian Kleiver.
I guess I would come back to my opening statement. I think we are a very forward thinking, collaborative, having the key disciplines internal to our organization, and innovative to providing experiential spaces for people that are timeless. We have, I think it's 6 of our projects have received 20-year awards from the American Institute of Architects, 2 of which are here in the Middle East, the Hajj Terminal in Jeddah, and the Central Bank, also in Jeddah. But when you can design something, and that's just here in this region, but when you look at the projects that we've designed over our 80+ year history, they're, I would say easily greater than a majority, are still very relevant projects, whether, just the aesthetic or the technology that was used, the facade, the materials. So, and I would say the integrity of the building itself. Not only is it going to look and be timeless, it's going to last.
Yeah.
So we put our heart and soul into every aspect of the building. It's not just a pretty picture. So down to the materiality, what we're specifying, and the details.
Nice. So obviously the GM of SOM now, if you could meet the Brian that came out of university, fresh-headed, ready to go into his working career, what advice would you give him?
Travel often.
Yeah. See the world.
Experience life.
Yeah.
Experience the world. Yeah.
What would you say the most?
I mean, I had that ambition.
Yeah.
As a student, I just didn't have the means to do it.
Yeah. It was always something you wanted to do.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen until kind of later on in your life. But what would you say is the best destination you've ever been to, travel-wise?
Well, I suppose it depends on what you mean by best, but for me,
what was
the biggest impact? I would say India.
Yeah. Could you ever see yourself living in India?
Well, I did for 3 months.
Oh wow.
We did the Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminal International Airport there, and I worked on that and was there. But that was glamorous living. Let's say I was in a hotel and whatever. But perhaps. I mean, it's just an incredibly rich and diverse culture.
Yeah.
And amazing people. So many people that have very little.
Yeah. But still have such a big heart.
But still have such a big heart and a smile, and would give you the shirt off their back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Because sometimes you kind of lose that in these types of environments because everyone's so busy. But yeah, for me, I would say probably the Philippines. The Philippines, if you've never been, you should go check it out. Yeah. And if you are listening to this, shout out to the Filipinos. We love Palawan. You have to go. If you're listening, definitely go and visit. If you like islands, greenery, nature, just rawness, that's the place to be. So, on a final note, you've given advice to the younger Brian. If we've got any architects listening to this that are just leaving uni and they are super nervous about going out to the working world, what advice would you give them?
I would say bring a lot of perseverance and persistence to your career.
Yeah.
You will need it.
And love what you do.
And passion.
Yeah.
3 Ps: persistence, perseverance, and passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough either way, but I think those 3 things.
I think when it's tough, but you enjoy it, it's a different.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just different completely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's been amazing talking to you.
Thank you, Dan.
And until we meet again, thank
Cheers.
you so much.